Right, let's begin then. It's always great to have you all. New faces? Give me a show of hands. First timers? Good. Second timers? Last timers? We'll find out at the end of the sermon, won't we? Okay. Right, let's take a moment then to take homage in the Noble Triple Gem, observe the precepts, and make a start to what I'm sure will be a fantastic day for all of us. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sabba sattesu metta sahagatena cetasa viharanang samadhiyami. To be able to do that, you have to be able to understand that there is no Swaminatha here. There's a connection between those two things. To be able to do, to be able to observe, to be able to adhere to the precept that you observed, you have to be able to understand that there is no Swaminatha here. Now you're probably wondering, what's the connection between the two things? There seems to be no relation. How can my understanding that there is no Swaminatha actually here, and the Swaminatha who's being streamed over across the next room is the same or no different to the sight or the image that you see here? How is your understanding of that going to help you adhere to the precept of Sabba Sattesu Metta Sahagatena Cetasa Viharanang Samadhiyami? That is where we need to understand the connection. It's a wonderful connection. Once you begin to join the dots, and then there's a spark, and then everything comes clear. See, most people believe that they have loving kindness towards others. I can speak to background music as well. Shall we leave that for TikTok? If you also have a mobile device in your hand, just see if it's on silent. Or at least put it on vibrate in case you have a very important call you're expecting. Right. See, most people believe that they have loving kindness and compassion towards others. And they genuinely do. They genuinely think that they have that. They feel like when a man walks another man across the street, when someone feeds the poor, or gives some money to the poor, feeds a beggar, looks after the elderly or the sick, they feel that what they're actually doing is what the Buddha talked about when he talked about compassion and loving kindness. Loving kindness and compassion, these operate on two levels. One is a worldly level, the other is out of this world. Let's call it mundane and supra-mundane. One is laukika, the other is lokottara. The truth is, though, ladies and gentlemen, that most people, when they attempt and try to be a good, loving, gentle human being to others, and they do so by saying that I'm showing loving kindness and compassion to others, deep down inside, actually what they're doing is they're serving themselves. They enjoy being kind to others. Loving kindness is something that they do because it makes them happy. You might help a man across the street, and you rejoice when you see that they're happy about it and they thank you for it. You help a poor person, you feed them, you have a lunch and you give it to them and they say thank you. Or even if they didn't say thank you, you watch them from a side You get back into your car and then you just watch them. And you can see them open the lunch and have it. Maybe they might feed some of it to their children or maybe to the pet dog. And you take great joy in that. It makes you happy, doesn't it? Meaning, once again, there are things in this world that make you happy. Meaning your happiness is once again conditional. So it is not completely altruistic loving kindness or compassion. It is done, let's say, half and half. Half of it is done because you want the other person to be happy, and the other half is done because you want to be happy. You take joy out of it. There's nothing wrong with it. That's perfectly fine. But once again, if you consider yourself in that situation, your happiness is dependent on someone else. And that cannot be what happiness? That cannot be unconditional happiness. This precept that I want you to observe and to actually adhere to as much as you possibly can, it starts off with this mundane kind of compassion and loving kindness. Yes, but I want you to develop over time through your understanding of the Dhamma to one that helps you to be happy, or that helps you to be someone who can be happy. No, let me put it another way. Someone who can, all they want is happiness for others, but you don't expect any happiness for yourself out of it. Now that is a tall order. It's a big ask. How can you be completely equanimous? Someone else's happiness doesn't make you happy, but you do it because that is what's right for them. Try and see if you can understand what I'm trying to get across to you. Because we are so used to gaining happiness from someone else's happiness. Now, just think about it. Most of you may be parents. Right? If I asked you, why did you bring a child into this world? I think we can get a unanimous agreement on that. It's because as a mother, as a father, I'm happy when I see my children happy. So before you were with child, you wanted to have a child and you wanted to be happy. And so, that's what people said. You could be happy when you had children. So you brought a child into this world. And then from that day onwards, ladies and gentlemen, you've been looking after your child. You've been rearing it. You've been feeding it. You've been giving it a good education, your child, right? Bringing it up to be a good, law-abiding citizen, all that. You've been doing whatever you can. He or she has been the apple of your eye, and you've been looking after your child as best as you can because you love your child. Fair enough. And of course, you want your child to be a good person, a good human being. You want your child to be happy. But it can't be just about any child. You want your child to be happy. You see, think about this for a second. If it was okay for you that any child was happy from your effort, why did you have to have your own child? You could have gone to a children's home, an orphanage, and adopted a child. And then done what you can. You could have done that. If all you wanted was a child to be happy, a child to have a good upbringing, a child to have a good education, a child to be well-fed, nourished, right? And grow up to be as good as you, or if not even better. Why did it have to be your own child? Did you not know that there were many motherless, fatherless children in the world? When you decided to become a mother? Did you not know that? Of course you did. But you see, there's a difference there. See, your sabba sattesu has a condition. Your sabba sattesu metta sahagatena cetasa viharanang samadhiyami is conditional. As long as I'm happy. That is the condition. As long as I'm happy, I will be compassionate and have loving kindness towards all sentient beings. That's okay for an average human being. I don't want to think that you are average human beings. Is that okay? Buddhist philosophy is to help you leverage the Dhamma and elevate yourself to go from being just about average to extraordinary. In the way that you feel about your dearest child, how about if you could feel the same way about just about any child in the world? Just think about it for a second. At least just try and imagine what I'm trying to say. See, today, I have no children of my own. In this birth, certainly, biologically, I have no children. Yet at the monastery, we have just over 200 children, just about 200 children, and the number is steadily growing. To each of those children, I have equal love, loving kindness and compassion. They're not my children, but when I look at them, when I teach them, when I give them the Dhamma, when I feed them, when I look after them, I never feel that they're your children, not mine. I don't feel that way. So among you will be mothers and fathers who've given up your children to the sasana, and today they're with us. You brought them into this world because you knew that they were going to make you happy. Later on, you got to listen to the Dhamma. You understood the Dhamma, and then you realized that, in fact, if you wanted to keep a child, if you want to help a child be happy, then just about feeding them and giving them a good education is not going to do it. Happiness does not come from the food you eat. It does not come from the car you drive. It does not come from the house that you live in. It does not come from another woman or a man, so there's no point in getting married for the sake of happiness. You can't deny. Yes. Yes. You live long enough to agree with me. You know that today happiness does not come in dollars and sterling pounds. Does not come in rupees and cents. If that were the case, then I'd be the unhappiest person in this room, but nothing could be further from the truth. You come here every Sunday morning because you want to learn from me the secret of happiness, when I'm someone who has nothing, and you are someone who has everything. So what is this secret of happiness? So once you began to understand the Dhamma, the parents among you realized this was what we've always been looking for in our lives. This is something my parents couldn't give me, my grandparents couldn't give me, my teachers at school couldn't show me, my friends couldn't show me. It was not something I could buy at the supermarket. It was not something I could buy at the showroom. I realized once and for all that it is only the Dhamma that can give this. And if I want my children to be happy, then my children have to have this. So you gave your children up to the sasana. Today, they're with us. The youngest one is 6 years of age, and the eldest, of course, 18. That number steadily keeps growing, which is why recently we laid down a foundation stone to build another school. The school building for our children is just not enough. The point is, though, with those children, towards those children, I never feel that they're not my children, they're your children. I don't feel that way. You know what I feel? They're just children. I don't even feel that they're your children. Because if I were to feel that they were your children, then they would not be my children, right? If I felt that they were my children, then I'd be in the same plight that you're in. Which is, if something were to happen to them, then you suffer. Whenever something's mine, what happens? Actually, you know what? When we make things mine, okay, I'll let you in on a little secret. When we make things mine, the only thing that we make mine is suffering. Nothing else. That's the trick that no one tells you. It's a little secret. Things were not invented into this world to be made mine. They were made to use, to make use of. See, this is a fan. This fan was made somewhere. Someone probably handcrafted this. What was this fan made for? To be made mine? Was this made to be made mine? No, it was made to be used, wasn't it? It was made to be used. What was this saucer made for? to be used, not to be made mine. So if something was not made to be made mine, do you think we would be able to do that? Like literally. Think about what I'm trying to get across to you. This fan, it was not made to be made mine. So here are some of the things you can do with this fan. You can fan yourself with it. Right? If there's something at a distance and you can't reach it, you can use this stick to move it with. Right? It's like kind of like a vanity fan, right? So you can cover yourself in case you don't want to expose too much of yourself. You can use it for that. If you have a cough or something, you can cover yourself with that. So that's what this fan is used for. Whatever this fan was made for, any one of us in the room can use it for that purpose. Yes or no? Agreed? Great. Because that was what this fan was made for. Now, someone among us might have this smart idea that I should make this fan mine. Okay? Any volunteers? All right, I'll volunteer. Let's say I decide that I want to make this fan mine. Right, now I've made this fan mine. Whose fan is this now? No. Whoa, hold on. Whose fan is this now? Is it? Right, let's take back a couple of steps. There's a fan here. Okay? There's a fan here. What was the fan made for? To fan. To fan. Right? And to do all the other good things, wonderful things you can do with a fan. I'm here and I look at the fan, and in my own mind, so I'm not going to tell this to you, although I have to say it for the sake of the sermon, right? I internally have this bright idea, I'd like to make that fan mine. So in my mind, I make it mine. So now it's mine. Okay? It's mine. For whom? To me, this fan is mine. How about for you? Is it mine? Has it all of a sudden become mine to you as well? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So Swami Namaste thinks that this fan is his. Okay, so this fan is now mine. But I don't tell you that. So by looking at this fan, can you all of a sudden realize that Swami Namaste has now made it his personal belonging? Can you? No, but does it still not fan? There you go. So what about this fan changed when I decided that this fan was mine? What changed about it? Nothing changed about it. So this concept of mine, where is it? It's only in the mind, isn't it? It's only in the mind of the person who thinks that it's mine. Once again, this concept of mine, personal belonging, is only in the mind of the individual who thinks that it is theirs. Just because I think this is mine doesn't give you any signs whatsoever that, there you go, light's gone off. So that means Swami Namaste has taken ownership of it. Nothing about the world changes, does it? Let me prove it to you again with another example. So here I have a pen, okay? I have a pen. In just a moment, I'm going to think that this pen is mine, okay? You've got to put your hand up when I've done that. But first of all, let's see what some of the things we can do with the pen. What can we do with the pen? We can write with the pen. As soon as I write, can you not put your hand up and say, Swami Namaste is written with it? The moment I write with it, you can put your hand up and to say, Swami Namaste is written with it, right? As I open the cap, you can say, yep, Swami Namaste has just opened the cap. So you see, these are things that you can all do with a pen, and it's not just something in my own mind. It's pretty obvious. But can you put your hand up? I'm going to do it now. In just a moment, I'm going to think that this is mine. And when I do, you have to put your hand up. If you get it wrong, I'm going to kick you out. Right? Ready? What? I just looked at it. I only looked at it. What? Have I not made it mine yet? Have I or have I not? How would you know? Exactly. How would you know? So just the fact that it's in my hand, does that mean it's mine? No. So when is it going to be mine? When is this going to be mine? Listen to the question carefully and answer. When is this going to be mine? Is it ever going to be mine? No. But can I not think that it's mine? I can, right? What about this changes when I think it's mine? Nothing whatsoever. So, the moment I think this is mine, does that somehow stop any of you in the room from using it for what we just did a moment ago? So, the moment I think this is mine, can the good gentleman over here or the kind lady over there not pick this pen up and write and do whatever this pen was made for? Can't they do that? Of course they can, right? So me making this mine doesn't stop you from making use of it whatever it was intended for, right? Meaning nothing about this pen changes. So me making it mine has nothing to do with the pen. The point being, ladies and gentlemen, nothing about this world changes when you think that something's yours. But you have this feeling inside of you that it's yours. If there's only one person in this room, and that is me, that thinks that this pen is mine, but the rest of you don't think that way, you can all use this pen to write just as much as I can. But here's what only I will do from here on, but you won't. What do you think that is? I'll ask the question again. This pen, the moment that I think it's mine, there's something that I will do from here on that none of you in this room will do. What is that? It starts with S. Suffer. Absolutely. Suffer. It starts with, it's just that, suffer. That is the only thing that will happen the moment you think that it's yours. Because I'll prove it to you. If this pen is mine, now I have to protect it. Why do people protect things? Because of the F word, not that F word. It's worse than that F word. This one. Fear. Isn't that why people protect things? Why do you scream out to your child when he crosses the street without looking out for traffic? Because of fear, right? Why do you lock your doors before you leave home and then go back and check again in case you forgot? How many times have you driven back? Right? You're driving on the motorway, you turn back. Did you not lock? I thought you did. They go, oh, you go to the roundabout, turn back, right? Go all the way back home and check the doors, right? Why? Because of fear. In fact, just think about this for a second, folks. If I ask you to make a list of all the things you've done since you were born to this point, okay? I'd say more than 90% of everything you've done in your life was for this, and this. Fear and grief. This is while you still have it, this is when you lost it. More than 90% of what you've done in your lives will have been to avoid or to deal with, because you can't avoid, you don't know how to avoid it. Not until you come across the Dhamma. You're trying to manage fear. This is fear management. Life is just that. Fear management and grief management. Could you not sum up life in those two words? Fear management and grief management. Because you don't know how to prevent fear. You don't know how to avoid fear or grief. Not until you know the Dhamma. What does money help us do? Tackle fear. I remember when I was younger, my parents used to teach me, Buddha, while you're young, get yourself a good education, right? So you can grow up and have a good job, earn lots of money, and then you won't have to be dependent on anyone. You can live a free life. You can be independent. Because if you don't, they said, if you don't, then you would have to be at everyone's mercy. You'll have to live afraid about the next day, whether you'll have a meal on your plate, whether you'll be able to have all the things you want. So for that, I exerted my youthful years, trying to give myself a certain kind of protection, let's say an insurance against fear and grief. You don't take an insurance plan because there's no fear and grief. You take an insurance plan because there is fear and grief. Taking out the insurance plan doesn't somehow do away with fear and grief. It's still there. It's still there. But you have this sense of protection. So while it's there, you feel like you're protected. You feel like you're safeguarded from that. But the demons are still there. These two demons are still there. You know what Buddhist philosophy teaches you? It's how you can get rid of fear and grief once and for all. So you no longer need an insurance plan. Think about your children for a second. Your dear, beloved children. When your children come to your mind, don't these two things come to your mind at the same time? Answer honestly. Let's just say your daughter, your loving daughter, your beloved daughter, she's gone to the States. She's gone there for her higher education. Okay? And she's going to be there for the next 3 years. As a father, as a mother, every week you look forward to speaking to her. Why? So that you can help her out with her tuition. If there's anything she hasn't understood in her class, you can teach her. Huh? When you call her, what do you ask her? Pata, how are you? And she says, yeah, I'm fine. Then what do you say? Yeah, but can you tell me more? How are your friends? Well, all of a sudden you care so deeply about their friends as well? How's your hostel? How are your friends? How's the food? Why do you ask all these questions? Are you safe? Why do you give your children a mobile phone when they leave home? So that they can go on Facebook and post about their whereabouts. Is it? No, that's what you don't like. Why do you give them a mobile phone? So that you can check in on them. Why do you want to check in on them? Why do you have to check in on them? Fear and grief. Don't tell me it's because you love them. No sabba sattesu there. It's not because you love them. It's because you live in fear and grief, and this is your fear management technique. Your fear management technique. I won't blame you for it. I'm only just pointing out that there's a demon here. There's an elephant in the room. We so conveniently try and ignore. And that's not right. We need not do that from here on because we have an answer. We have a solution to this problem. Understanding the Buddha Dhamma does not mean that from here on you will not care about your children. Do I not care about children? then how dare people say that understanding the Dhamma means that you will not care about children? I care about 200 children. You only care about your own children. That's what the Dhamma has done for me. Today, I don't care about my children. I can care about children. Because my is synonymous with suffering. Let me ask you a simple question. Well, it's simple enough for me. I don't know whether it's simple for you. We'll try. Your child gets a headache. Okay? So they're really badly, poorly, has a headache, splitting headache. Now, the treatment for that is to first try with some paracetamol. When you give your child a paracetamol for the headache, does the paracetamol require that you give it to the child with lots of love and affection? Will it only work if you give the paracetamol with love? Will it not work otherwise? Do a test when you get back home. Like, get the two children, the one that you like more than the one that you like less. Don't tell them which one's which, okay? That wouldn't be very nice. Right? So get the two of them and give them a good whacking. Right? Or just knock their heads together so they have a headache. Right? Don't tell them which one's which. And then give them both a paracetamol and see which one works. You'll be surprised. Why will you be surprised? Because they both work. For the control experiment, bring your wife or your husband and knock his or her head on the wall and then leave them there and no paracetamol. Which one works? Don't try the third one. Unless, of course, you want to become an anagarika. Then it'll be okay. So which one works of the two children? They both work, right? So is it incumbent upon you to have this emotional love bond, suffering, to look after your children, to treat them, to give them a good education, to take care of them? Think about this for a second. Have you not seen there are some families where we get to hear this quite a lot, actually. Some children, they come up to me and come up to us and say, Swaminathan, I grew up with my mother and father, as most people do, but my mother, she was very loving towards me, but my father, he didn't really know how to show us his love. Okay? People say that. He didn't really know how to show his love to us. He was quite strict. He was very stern, right? He had like a regimented routine and regime at home. He was all very strict. And that was how things were. He just never showed his love to us. So this child never felt the love of the father because apparently it was not shown to them. But later on they say, but I realized today that my father actually did love me. He protected me. He looked after me. He was always there when there was a problem. He made sure that I did my work, my homework. He made sure that I went to school. He made sure that all of those things that I had to do, I did, but he just never really expressed his love in the way that my mother did. But as a father, he did everything that a good father must do. See, when a child says this, they reflect back at how they grew up in that home environment, and what they're saying is, my father did everything that a father has to do. They fed me, looked after us, looked after my mother, looked after my brothers and sisters and all of us, gave us a good education and all that. But I didn't feel that he loved me. In fact, no, actually, I know he loved me, but he didn't show his love to me. So we asked him, what sort of things would you have expected to be able to say that he actually showed his love? Well, he never caressed me. He never embraced me. He never sat me on his lap and, sang lullabies to me. He never did that sort of thing. He never held my hand, and we never went for walks. That sort of thing we never did. He never sang songs with me. He never did that sort of stuff. Now, let's just say, if we had another family where a father did those things, so say, caressed, showed affection, went for the walk, held the child's hand, sang the songs, sang the lullabies, put them to sleep, tucked them in, right, gave a kiss on the forehead, and all those things. Those are a bunch of actions. Those are a bunch of actions. How can you say which father actually loved the child more simply by observing what the two fathers have done? So in the second instance, the father says he shows his love, but the father does not look at the child's education. They do not save for the child, right? But he's always there. He shows affection. He shows affection, but he doesn't do the things that the first father did, like protection, education, feeding the child. They don't do that. They just sit at home, and when the child comes home, they're just there. They just show love like a pet dog. But the first father, he pulls his weight. He does all the things that a father has to do, but he just doesn't show affection. How can you tell which father actually gave love to the child? Merely by observing the actions that they had, or that they did. You can't say that. When people say that I feel loved by someone, or I don't feel loved by someone, they're basing this all on what they observe through their eyes and through their ears. You cannot actually say whether a particular action has a certain intention behind it. Now, couldn't someone actually come and caress your head or hold your hand and do it one out of good love or the bad kind of love? In other words, they mean to do you harm. Isn't that why if a stranger walked up to you and held your hand, you'd be startled. You'd be very worried because you don't know what intention they might have. But your father holds your hand and you're quite happy with that because you assume that the intention with which your father's holding your hand is love towards you. But a stranger, you're scared, you don't know. But on both instances, what they've done is hold your hand. See, that is merely the action. You can't speak about the intention. Which goes back to my point. When we talk about our love for our children, you think that this sabbata satte sumetta sahagatena cetasa viharanang, observing that precept and adhering to that requires you to have some kind of bond within you, a special connection. You feel that it's about you. With sabba satte sumetta sahagatena cetasa viharanang samadhyami, it's not about you. It's 100% about the other person. I don't know if you can even imagine this kind of love that I'm talking to you about, where it's all about the other person and nothing about you. Try and imagine what I'm trying to share with you here, folks. It's nothing about you. It's 100% about the other person. You do what you need to do to keep them happy, not because it makes you happy. If you could be such a parent, wouldn't you agree with me that the other child need not be your child? Why is it when there are so many children in orphanages, right? Every day we have mothers delivering children in this world. Now, please don't think for a moment that I'm speaking against that. That is not my point here. My point is simply this. When there are an abundance of children who need mothers and fathers, new children come into this world because what a man and a woman want normally, typically, is to have their own child. Meaning that compassion, that loving kindness is tainted with selfishness. I'm simply analyzing the ways and works of society, okay? This is not me passing judgment on anyone, criticizing, mocking, ridiculing, none of that. So please don't assume that that is what I'm attempting to do. I don't want to do that. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm only here to show you, give you insight. We struggle with that. We struggle with treating everyone the same because some people in this world are our people. Others aren't. And we human beings, we are very good at segregating people like that. Typically, you'd see Buddhists looking after Buddhists, Muslims looking after the Muslims, the Hindus looking after the Hindus, the Christians looking after the Christians, the atheists looking after the atheists, mothers looking after their children, fathers looking after their children, husbands looking after, well, let's keep it that way. But do you get the point? But I'm actually trying to show you something. Now, what I just explained that you understand, but there's something that goes beyond that I'm trying to open your eyes up to, and that is this sense of belonging, this sense of mine and mine is simply another word for suffering, nothing more. It's overrated. People like to have their house, don't they? Just think about it. When you were younger, you lived at home. Did you not have a dream? One day I'm going to leave home and have my own house. Everyone in the room, including myself, right? We are all guilty as charged. Right? We all wanted our own place, my own little nest. Remember how you used to dream about it? One day I'm going to fly from this nest, right? And then I'm going to have my little family, right? And I'm going to have little birdies. You know, right from when you were 6, 7, 8, as you started to see people, families having children, you imagine, when I grow up, I'm going to have 10 children. Remember? I'm going to have 20 children. These were the dreams that people used to have. As young children, you know, we have these dreams because we want to have something that is ours and mine. Little do we know that this sense of our, me, mine is nothing more than suffering. What a pity. What a pity that actually what we are dreaming about is the day that we suffer. We're simply longing for the day that we suffer. Don't you see how you're creating hell for yourself? To live, you need a house. Just as much as to fan, you need a fan. You don't need a my fan. To live, you need a house. You don't need a... Yes. To get from A to B, you need a car. You don't need a... There you go. But don't you have all of those things today? You have a my house, you have a my car, you have a my children. See, if you really wanted to be a good citizen and do what you can for your world, right, to serve this world, so that this world would be a better place for you having lived in it, and you felt like, you know, I want to give children in this world a good place to live in. I want to feed the children of the world. I want to give the children a good education. Well, why didn't you do it to an orphanage? Why did you have to bring your own children into this world? Once again, I'm going to caveat this with, this is not criticizing, right? Or please don't think any of this is offensive. I'm just analyzing society and how people think and the errors in the way that we think to ourselves. If you can really resonate with me, you'll understand that what I'm trying to say is don't suffer. That's all. Because in bringing in a my child into this world, all you did was bring a child and then suffering. That's all you did. You never had a my child, just as much as this is not my pen. Nothing about this pen is mine. Mine is merely an emotion, a sentiment that I have in my own mind, which is synonymous with suffering. So I might as well call this the pen on behalf of which I suffer, which is another word for what pen? My pen. Prove me wrong. Of all the houses in Sri Lanka, yes, of all the houses in this country, there's one house on behalf of which you suffer the most. Which house is that? All together? There you go. Could you not go and live in another house? I mean, I'm talking about physically, right? If it gives you shelter, if it has all the amenities, all the facilities that you need, right? Could you not live in another house? Because a need is a house. A want is a my house. Isn't it? This is the first lesson that we learned for business studies. There are such things called needs and wants. We need a car to get from A to B. You want a car. And that is your car. Wanting is simply a process that leads you to suffering, nothing more. This is why sabba sattesu metta sahagatena cetasa viharanang samadhyami, you can't really do 100%. You may be able to do a 50% of that. But if you understand what I'm trying to get across to you, if you take the most of these sermons, folks, you'll be able to do 100% of it. That day will come where you're able to look at all people not as yours or someone else's, simply as people, minds. At the monastery, that's what we do. We work hard to mend minds and heal hearts. That's what we do. That's our raison d'etre. We mend minds and heal hearts. It's what we exist for. See, today I preach to you. Who are you to me? Do we know each other? Are you my brother or my sister? Are you my mother or my father? But a sermon that I'm not doing today to my own mother and father, I'm doing to you. A sermon, a preaching that I'm not giving to my own brother, with whom I share the same womb, I'm giving to you. Because to me it matters not who is healed and which mind is mended. It's not because I'm so selfless or he's so nice. It's not that, ladies and gentlemen. My is just another word for suffering. So anyone in their sane mind would not be looking to serve their own. That's crazy. Trust me, that's crazy. Before you serve, if you have to look for your own, that's crazy. You're doing a disservice to yourself first. So when you have to serve, why must you look for your own? If you have something to give, why must it be to a particular someone? Is it not sufficient that the party that you're giving it to needs it? See, people sometimes ask me, Swaminathan, the other day, I was walking down the street, and then a beggar approached me. Someone asked me this question. A beggar approached me and he asked me if I had some spare cash. So at this point, I had some money, and I could have quite easily just given it to him, and it wouldn't have broken the bank. But as I observed him head to toe, I started judging him. And I thought to myself, this man, he looks rowdy, he looks rough, he's probably going to take this money and go and drink himself. Silly. Or maybe he's going to do drugs with this money. So in the end, I decided I'm not going to give the money to him. Based on a bunch of assumptions, this gentleman who asked me this question, he decided that he was not going to give the money to this man. All based on assumptions. I ask you the question, what do you think about that? You don't need to speak out loud, because I know you'll all have an opinion about this. And everyone is entitled to their opinion. I'm here to simply show you another perspective. If all you're doing is based on assumptions and you have no very veritable information to actually determine what this man is going to use it for besides your own assumptions, why don't you assume for the better and give yourself the benefit of the doubt? Remember, I didn't say give him the benefit of the doubt. Note, I didn't say give the beggar the benefit of the doubt. I said give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Because what did that gentleman not do in that instance? He didn't give what he could have given, and in doing so, he didn't earn the merits that he could have earned. This goes against a lot of things you might have learned from society. A lot of things that people would have taught you. Maybe even things that your elders might have taught you. Maybe your uncle, right? They were driving in a car and there was a beggar approached you and you said, "Uncle, shall we give him some money?" "No, Buddha. Look at him. Looks like he's drunk. He's probably going to go and use this money to go and drink himself. Drink himself silly, so we might as not give the money to him." I'm not suggesting for one moment that you invite all the beggars to sleep over at your place, right? Or bring in all the homeless people and, get them to crash at your place. That's not what I'm suggesting. Of course, we have to be sensible in whatever we do, right? You have to look after your own safety, your protection, right? Safety first, always, even in the Dhamma. Safety. You've got to be careful about that because you have to be safe so that you can attain Nibbāna. Yeah? But what I'm saying is, don't shoot yourself in the foot by making assumptions that are disfavorable towards yourself or unfavorable towards yourself. But, when you have these preconceptions of things, when you have your way, my standards, mine again, you often end up doing yourselves a disservice. And the classic example of that is, of course, like I asked you earlier, if as a good human being you wanted to exert your energy, use your knowledge, use your know-how, and do good to the world, why do you separate your people first before you do that? If you're here to serve, then all you need are people who need to be served or who need that service from you. You don't need people who are your people because your is nothing more than suffering. That's the point I'm trying to get across to you. So whenever you are in this position where you try to live your life by that sixth precept that you have observed, ask yourself that question. When you get home, I know this is going to be incredibly difficult to do because this is something that even the King Suddhodana struggled with, although he went on to become an arahant before he passed away. You remember what he came and told the Buddha, right? When he walked with Prince Rahula. He pleaded to him, "Venerable, please don't do this. We parents, The love that we have for our children, it runs through our blood and veins. It goes deep down to our bones. So please don't do this. Before you take a child from their parents, please seek their consent. I mean, that's the only reason you still have your children with you today. Otherwise, I would have had it my way. I'll tell you why though. I'll tell you why. You might think I'm very selfless. So rather, I'm very selfish. I'm very heartless. You might think I'm very heartless. You might think that Guru Hamdra is one of the most heartless people you've ever met. Not so, ladies and gentlemen. You think your child is yours. What right do you have to think that? You think your child is yours. Actually, let me correct that. You think a child is yours. What right do you have to think that? See, you making a child yours, how does that benefit the child? There's a question. Answer. How does making, identifying, owning a child, how does that benefit the child? I know what you'll say. Well, Swaminathan said, now that he's my child, I look after him. I feed him. Education. All these things, I protect him. I do all that. At the monastery, we do that and then some. So much so that I'll go as far as saying this, and please don't be offended, right? Nothing that you are doing at home with the child will help the child in their next life. There is nothing you're giving that child that you so love, so dearly, that is going to help the child after they're dead or in their old age. When they're weak, when they're frail, when they're poorly, when they're bedridden, there is nothing you're giving that child. Because that education that you're giving that child, once society realizes that they have taken everything they can and they're just simply a tissue paper that they have wiped their hands with and now to be thrown in the trash, at that point that child's education becomes irrelevant. Just think about your grandfather for a second. Think about your grandpa for a second. Think about grandma for a second. How many years of education have they had? How many things they know? Just think about it. They're like a walking encyclopedia. But that knowledge that they have is now outdated. Because your grandpa doesn't know how to work with computers, he's out of date. He's 2000 and late. Because times have moved on. So the knowledge that he has is now irrelevant. So what has society decided to do with him? Discard. But because there are rules, regulations, and laws, right, which require a human being to have to be treated with a certain level of decency, right, they can't just put him in the trash. In Sri Lanka, I don't know whether there's a lot going on, but in other countries, they give them like a stipend on which to live. Maybe there's an allowance that they get when they're old until you die. Here's the allowance. They call it the pension. Just take this and just don't be a trouble to us. Just, sit to a side and just, give some money, just shush, right? Don't bother us. Here's some money. That's what they've done to your grandfather. So all the education that he had, he was a chartered engineer. Today he's in bed. Oh, he's bedridden. What's his chartered engineering going to help him with? He was a consultant surgeon. He was a heart surgeon. He was a brain surgeon, right? He was the most respected person in his career. Now today he's bedridden. How is his knowledge of medicine going to help him? That's what I'm saying. You cannot give your children anything that's going to help them after 50, 60, maybe 65 years of age. After that, nothing you've given them is actually going to help them. Yes, you might give them some money, which will pay for the machines that will keep them alive for the last few years of their life. It'll give them a comfortable life as you think, but remember, by that point, comfortableness is how thick your mattress is, that's it. Besides that, what good is a lot of money going to do? If you were there when your mother passed away, if you were there when your grandmother passed away, just remind yourself, she was rich. She had lots. She had a lot of children. She was very well educated. But what did she have in those last moments? Not much at all. Because you know what? Someone made her my mother. For someone, she was my wife. For someone, she was my daughter. And because it was my mother, my wife, my daughter, they had to be with that person who considered them to be mine. And so all they did was give them money, education, this, that, and the other. Not something that was actually going to benefit that person. So when you think about sabba satte sumetta sahagatena cetasa viharanang samadhyami, can you actually think about what's going to benefit them and not you? I know any parent here would love to see their children live a happy life. When you think happy, folks, you're probably thinking a life where my child does not have to depend on anyone. They have a nice house, maybe a swimming pool as well, a tennis court at the back, right? They have a nice, a good family, children running around, right? In the lap of luxury, comfortable, at least a comfortable life. Maybe have a servant at their beck and call. Right? Perhaps these are some of the things that you might imagine. But the truth is this, all of that is very temporary. All of that will only get them till 45, 50, 60 at most. How much acreage are you going to need when you're bedridden? So what good is it that you're going to give your children 20 acres of coconut land, 50 acres of rubber land, right? 100 acres of coffee land? What good is it going to give them and the money that is going to bring them when they're bedridden? Have you seen how much an old granny eats? Even if they could afford everything in the supermarket and then some. I used to work in a care home. I've been there, I've done that. I worked with many mothers and fathers, right? That side of 80, not this side, that side of 80, who came to spend the last few years of their life. They had all the riches in the world, money in the bank, children, all of it. But here's the thing, it's not how happy you have lived in the youthful years of your life that determine how you're going to be in the next life. And I'll tell you why. Pay attention. Every chitta creates the conditions for the next chitta. Doesn't that scare the living daylights out of you? Every chitta creates the conditions for the next chitta. This is the point at which someone dies. The body breaks. The body can no longer sustain this person's life. Because they're bedridden, now they're very weak, maybe cancer. It's whatever, some terminal illness. They're in the care home. distraught, in despair, frustrated, having lost the will to live. Money in the bank, lots of children, yes. There's a nice car parked outside, a limousine, in case she ever gets back on her feet. Actually, it's a hearse. It's very comfortable, so they say. Have you not been in one? Not? Ah. Very comfortable, apparently. Every chitta creates the environment for the next chitta. See, this is your last chitta in this birth. Here's the next chitta in your next birth. The first chitta of your next birth. Here is determined what your next life is going to be. The last chitta that you have in this life determines the start of the next life. See, I prove this point to you. How come you can continue a sentence until the end? See, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. How come I was able to say all that in one after the other, in that order? It's because every chitta creates the environment for the next chitta. That is possible because of that fact. Every chitta creates the environment for the next chitta. So once I've said A in one chitta, excuse me, when the next chitta arises, it takes a dip into memory. It checks what did the last chitta just do. The last chitta just said A. Okay, so then the next one in line is B. Right, so then it's my turn to go B. Every chitta creates the environment for the next chitta. Now tell me then, here's a man or a woman who's lived a good life. Okay, a life of riches. A life of great comfort. Children. Happy family. They've gone on trips, they've traveled the world. They eat the finest. Wear the nicest clothes. Branded. Lives a good life. And then, this is when the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, now they're 89. Last chitta. At the age of 89, do all these things matter? When you're 89, how much money do you need in your bank? If you're going to die tomorrow, and your fixed deposit is maturing today, how long are you going to put it again for? Another how many years? If you lock it in for 10 years, they give you 25%. It's maturing today, you're going to die tomorrow. How long do you want to put your fixed deposit for? You have the answer, right? So then tell me, all this that you had when you were younger, what does that give you? Because now you've come to this point where it is the last part of your life and all you want is just to be without pain. In your younger years, you lived your life because you wanted to live without pain. Now you want to live without pain. That's all you want. Now you just want to live without pain, but you can't. The doctors keep coming and injecting painkillers, but it's just not working. You put your hand up and tell me, Swaminas, I'm immune from all that. You need not talk to us about this. And I'll talk to you about Jack and the Beanstalk. How do you know, ladies and gentlemen, where you're going to be in another 10 years? In another 5 years? Tomorrow? What if you walk down these stairs, you have a fall, you bang your head somewhere, and you go into a coma? The next thing you know, you open your eyes and you're in the hospital. Your children, we'll call them. They'll come and they'll stand by your side and hold your hand. They say, Amma, don't worry, we're here. But when you wake up, you'll realize that the lower part of your body is paralyzed because you hit a bad spot in your head. Now, tell me, how many cars do you want now? You have a Ferrari, so? You have a Bugatti, so where are you going? What are you going to do with your mountain bicycle now? You're a good swimmer. Huh? Okay. Tell me more. The lower part of your body is paralyzed. You tell me. So, none of this is going to happen to us. You're just, scaremongering us. And I will stop. And like I said, I talked about Jack and the Beanstalk. That's a nice little story. That's what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. If all you're giving your children, and yourself for that matter, money, education, food, a house, cars, wives, husbands, if this is all you're giving your children and yourselves, what's going to happen to you when that last chitta arises? Why do people live like they're never going to die? If you're not happy when that last chitta arises, trust me, you're not going to be born in a happy place. To be born in a happy place, you have to die happy. If you die with fear in your mind, you're going to be born in a fearful place. Now, you need not ask me where you're going to be born. In the last chitta that you have, ask yourself, what is your state of mind? Because the nama creates the rupa. Your chitta creates the environment in which the next chitta is born. Like I said, every chitta creates the environment for the next chitta. That's how it works. If you die with fear in your mind, you're going to be born in a fearful place. If you die with resentment in your mind, you're going to be born in a place you're going to resent. If you die with grief in your mind, you're going to be born in a place where you're going to grieve. If you die with anger in your mind, which is how most old people die, I'm sorry to say, most old people die angry. They die angry because they feel that society has done that to them. They feel that they've lived all their lives trying to serve mankind, looking after their children, doing for their families, and now they have simply thrown them away, discarded. And no one cares about them anymore. They have a sense of ungratefulness. That's how people feel. All because of their expectations. Because they feel, if I have done so much for my people, they have to do this for me. Expectations. And of course, when you're in a hospital, right? This is not a blanket statement. In some places, I'm sure they'll give you the best treatment, but in most places, I have to say, the staff, they're just doing their jobs. You're just another patient. Yeah? You're just another patient. So two patients are screaming, and they both need attention. There's only one nurse. No? Now what? Everyone in the room, right? Upside of 65. Virtually put your hand up. Don't put it up, actually. And how many more years do you expect to live? This side of 65, you think you're immune from accidents? Who rides the motorbike? The 16-year-old or the 65-year-old? The 16-year-old rides the motorbike. Because they feel very brave, don't they? They don't need a helmet, do they? No, of course not. Who takes risks? The 16-year-old. The 60-year-old, they're very cautious. Besides, their bodies are not strong enough to take risks anymore, so they're very careful. But the 16-year-old, the 26-year-old, the 35-year-old, oh, they're very bold and brave and Rambo. If you understood the value of life as I do, you would never go on those adventure hikes. I'm not saying you shouldn't. That's up to you to decide. What I'm saying is, I used to go do that. Canoeing, rock climbing, abseiling, all that. I had a lot of fun in my life. Fun, I thought I was having fun. I was very bold and adventurous. I want to try bungee jumping. That's just the one thing I couldn't do, and then jumping off an airplane. Two things I couldn't do. But most of the rest of it, tried it. Fortunately, I'm still alive. But if I knew the Dhamma that I know now back then, I wouldn't have stepped outside of my house. You know, today, I'm scared just to cross the street. Scared not because of losing my life. Scared because if I lose my life, I might also lose this opportunity to make the most of the life that I have. Because I know that I have not yet completed my journey. And if I'm born again, I have to start again. If I have attained to some certain noble state, which I don't know for certain, then that will remain with me. The merits I have done, the demerits I have done, that will be in my bank account. Those things will remain with me. But the knowledge that I have of the Dhamma, all of that will be lost. And I have to start again. I have to learn the alphabet again. I'll have to learn the alphabet again. What if I'm not born in the right place to do that? Not to learn the alphabet. Anywhere in the world, they'll teach you the alphabet. But what about the Dhamma? When the Buddha says that the Dhamma is so rare, coming across the Buddha is so rare, coming across the Buddha's asana is so rare, association of a noble one is so rare. Right? Just think about everything you have here today, ladies and gentlemen. You have a wonderful environment here, an opportunity to learn the Dhamma, to understand it, to comprehend the Dhamma. You have teachers who are prepared to sit down with you in groups, discuss the Dhamma, check your understanding, ask you questions and answer them, right? Cross-question and all that. Because you have Swami Mahanses who are prepared to look after you. You know, if I was given $1 for every time someone asked us to come and visit them in their countries, particularly in the Arabian part of the world. And in some countries, monks are forbidden from traveling. We have quite a few devotees in Qatar. Apparently, you're forbidden. Monks are not allowed to travel there. No. How can I serve them? Online. Online. I can give them a preacher online, I can't give them a teacher. And it's very difficult to get a visa to many countries because now I'm not in a job. That's because to get a visa, what do you need? You need to show that you have a good financial standing, right? You have property. I have what? What property do I have? The Buddha Sasana. That is my property. And how much is it worth on paper? Nothing. No good. What job do I have? I preach the Dhamma. How much do I earn for that? How much do you pay me for that? How much do you deposit in my bank account which I don't have? Nothing. So you see. So they are worried that if I go into their country, I might stay. I don't even want to stay in this world, let alone in Dubai. So don't you realize how fortunate you are to walk among the Mahasangha? You know, from wherever in the world you have come from, you're here now. You're in the association of noble ones. You're in the land of the Buddha. Either you were born here or someone brought you here. From some connection you were led this way, and today you are here. See, I ask you the question is, who dies? The rich or the poor? Who dies? The young or the old? The ugly or the beautiful? Who dies? The black or the white? They all die, right? So when they die, all that matters is what was the object of the last chitta? What was the intention of the last chitta? What was the state of mind of the last chitta? Was it in fear? Then the next place is going to be one of fear. If this last chitta was happy, there are two kinds of happiness. There's a worldly happiness and then there's a supramundane happiness. So here's the thing. If this last chitta dies happy, meaning joyful, then you'll be born in a joyful place. These are what we call the sugati, the blissful plane. You've heard that word, right? So to be born in the blissful plane, you must die what? Blissful. There you go. The satarapa is called the woeful plane. So if you die with a woeful state of mind, you're born in the woeful plane. So the sugati world is called the blissful plane. That is the 6 heavens and the 1 human world. This is the blissful plane. And another 4 arupa achara brahma worlds. But to go up there, you have to be in deep jhanic states in this last chitta. For that you'll have to have committed your life to meditation and just focus your life on that, which is pretty much impractical in this rat race of a life that we live. But you can aim for these two. But you got here somehow. So something worked out in your last birth. But usually, most of the time, this just works as a springboard. Not necessarily the 6 above, but the human world. This is usually a springboard. And most people jump off that and take a deep dive into the 4 great hells. This is not my words. This is what the Buddha says. This is what the Buddha says. And I can understand why now. Those days I used to say it's because the Buddha said so. Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm not a monk, I'm a scientist in a robe. So whatever someone says, I don't take at face value. I ask questions. Why? Why did the Buddha say that? And today I understand. Look at how most people die, the state of mind that they're in. Hardly anyone dies happy. Because most of the time, people are simply frustrated and disappointed. They feel rejected. Hardly anyone dies happy. Very few and far between you have people who either, because of reminding themselves of the meritorious deeds that they have done, or by contemplating on the Dhamma. They give themselves one more chance just to jump back up into the Sugati worlds. But the vast majority, this is their last life for a long time in the Sugati worlds. And then they're in the four great hells. The problem with getting there is, of course, it's not only the suffering, but the time it takes for you to come out of those places. It all depends on that last chitta. So, if this chitta is a blissful chitta, then you can get into a blissful place. If, however, this chitta is one that is not attached to anything worldly, free of desire, free of aversion, free of delusion, no attachment to the karma worlds, no attachment to the rupa worlds, no attachment to the arupa worlds, no attachment to anything, then that is a chitta that is in a blissful state of Nibbāna. As I said once, there are two types of Nibbāna. There's a Sopadisesa Nibbāna and the Anupadisesa Nibbāna. The Sopadisesa Nibbāna is the Nibbāna which you can attain in this lifetime itself, where your mind is free of defilements. Your mind is free of anger, frustration, desire, all of these defilements that bother you, annoy you, trouble you, worry you. Anupadisesa Nibbāna. When this chitta passes away, no more chitta arises. That is extinguishment. You are extinguished. Like the flame that runs out once the oil has run out. Where did the flame go? It didn't go anywhere. As the flame is extinguished, then as the oil has been consumed, then you are extinguished. So people ask me this question sometimes, Swaminatha, but if you don't exist, how can you be happy? Good question. If you don't exist, how can you be happy? To which my answer is, why do you need to exist to be happy? They only ask this question because they don't understand what happiness is. How do we define happiness? That is happiness, right? It is just a chitta. The happiness that most people understand is a happiness where they have to attach themselves to something, vex about it, then wait for it to be relieved, and then the relief that they experience from that, that is the happiness they talk about. For that, of course, you have to exist. Yes. For you to be happy on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve must be there. Must it not? Because you must see the presents under the Christmas tree. You can look, but you can't touch. Until Christmas Day. So, as you watch those Christmas presents there under the tree, now you're vexing what might be in it. Who might that be from? Now you want for Christmas Day to come. And then Christmas Day finally arrives. Now you go there, open your presents, and you're delighted to see what you've been given. There's the vexation and the relief from vexation. For that, of course, you have to exist. So there has to be the yesterday and the today, or the today and the tomorrow. That's why to enjoy that kind of happiness, you need time. See? There has to be a yesterday on which you suffered so that today you can be happy. Or there has to be a today on which you suffer so that tomorrow you can be happy. Therefore, you are time bound. You can't be akalika. Pleasure seekers, I speak to you. If what you seek in life is pleasure, you are time bound. On the track of time, your train should run. But if you are someone who does not seek happiness from pleasure and have accepted that happiness is not something that you have to go seek, it's always there. It simply comes from the mind not attaching itself to anything. It's just there. It's there. It's there now. It's always there. Then you don't need time. You're not bound to time. Because you don't need to suffer yesterday so you can be happy today. You don't need to suffer today so you can be happy tomorrow. Meaning you're free from time. Meaning you're always happy. See, that's why, sir? Of course. karma brings you the vipaka. Your karma brings you your vipaka, because all vipaka comes from karma. So, I mean, it is that this is the thing. It is because you do a karma, you have an next chitta. We call it the patisandhi karma, or the this chitta, which is the last chitta. It performs a karma. It performs a karma, and because of that karma, a next chitta is born. What happens when you're an arahant and you pass away? If this is an arahant chitta, there is no karma. And because there is no karma, then there is no energy to generate another chitta. That is why you cease to exist. But when I talk about this, unless you have actually understood what happiness is the way that I intend for you to understand it, there may still be a few in the audience who might actually dread this situation, because you're still thinking, but Swaminas, if I'm not born again, then isn't that a problem? Can't I be and be happy at the same time? Because you think, happiness is like when you don't have a problem. Like some days when you just don't have a problem, you wake up in the morning, you see the sunrise, and everything seems nice. Right? Your husband's made you a cup of coffee. Once every few years it happens, right? Right? The children are there, and they come running to you and they hug you, right? And then just life seems to be beautiful. So you want life to be like that. The good life. That's what most people think. That's why people want to go on holiday, because then they don't have to worry about their chores. They don't have to worry about doing the dishes, because there are people to do that for them. They don't have to even make the bed after they wake up in the morning, because what do you call them? Housekeeping comes and they do the bed up. You don't have to fix breakfast, because all you have to do is walk to the restaurant and they have your meals ready. People think that is the good life. That's why people look forward to doing it once every few months, once every few weeks. That is happiness in people's life. This is the problem, folks. Because you think that is happiness, I fail to show you a happiness beyond that. I'm struggling to show you a happiness beyond that, because you think that is happiness. Because that's what the glossy magazines have always put into your heads. That is what happiness is. It's what the TV channels have been telling you. If you read the Forbes magazine, I'm sure it will tell you these are the best, most attractive places to visit, the top 10 places to visit before you die. They'll tell you. If you pick up the travel magazine, they'll tell you where you have to be next summer. We don't do it as much, but in other countries, I remember when I used to in the UK, people come back from holiday having made plans for the next holiday. So by the water cooler, when we have take a short break, that's what people talk about. Where are you going next on holiday? Holiday, holiday, holiday. That's what we talk about. I mean, that's not all we talk about, but more or less. And I understand why. Because work is stressful. People work so that they can go on holiday. I get that. I get it. Absolutely, I get it. And actually people book their holidays, at work, they book their holidays way in advance so that they can actually go on holiday, go somewhere and be happy. People think that there are happy destinations, not here, somewhere else. But they don't stop to ask the question, how come people there travel somewhere else then? I mean, name your favorite holiday destination, whatever it is. People who live there, they don't stay there for holiday, do they? They travel somewhere else. Maybe they might visit your hometown. So what is the holiday destination then? Is it there or here? People, we plan on leaving Sri Lanka. Maybe every spring, summer, winter, whatever, you want to travel. You leave Sri Lanka, you take your children, you go wherever, the Bahamas. Where do you think people in Bahamas travel to? When they want a holiday, they come to Sri Lanka. So what is the holiday destination? Where do you have to be happy? That's the thing. Happiness is not something you can find anywhere. This is happiness. It's with you. Stop looking for it. Stop looking for it. But I know it's harder said than done. Because the tendency is always to look for it. Because that's what you've been doing all your lives. You're always looking for it. Right from when you started. Why did you build your house that way? Why was it not just enough just to have a house? I mean, think about it. Your house is not just a house, is it? My house is a house. Come and see it sometime. No, don't come. My house, I live in a kuti. That which is about half the size of this stage. In there's a bed. There's a desk on which I do my work. There's a drawer in where I put my robes and my alms bowl, and a few chairs when people come and see me from time to time to discuss how we run the monastery. And that's all I have in there. That's my house. Then we have a common toilet that we use, a washroom. We go and bathe and do all that. There's a dana hall where you all come and you visit us. That's where we go for our alms. That is my house. Anytime I'm asked to leave, all I have to do is pick up my alms bowl, pick up my robes, and I'm out of there. I can't take my bed because my bed doesn't belong to me. I can't take the desk because that doesn't belong to me. The chair doesn't belong to me. None of it belongs to me. Only my alms bowl and my robes. I travel light. How do you travel? You have check-in luggage, don't you? I only have hand luggage. You have check-in luggage, right? I also used to have check-in luggage. And then I had to stand by the counter and argue with them. They said, it's too heavy. No, it's not too heavy. I packed it. No. Did you pack it all by yourself? I packed it all by myself. Have you got any explosives in there? No. So I don't have any of those questions to answer. Because everything's open. You don't need to question. It's there. It's there to be seen. Nothing to hide. Do you ever have to come and ask me, Swaminathan, who are you dating these days? See, what you see is what you get. This is me. Do you even have to ask me, Swaminathan, what do you have for lunch today? Do you? I mean, particularly today. Do you need to ask me what I'm going to have for lunch today? Why not? Who decides that? You decide that. See? The other days, it's the same. No secrets, nothing to hide. A very simple life. Because I didn't come into this world to build up all this complexity around me. I came into this world to find this. Just this. How do I find happiness in a chitta? A single chitta. Because here's the thing. That's all I really have. I'm just a chitta. If I can't figure out how to be happy with all that I have, and the only thing that I have, and that is the chitta, I can never be happy. It is because people haven't figured out how to be happy in a single chitta, they have made their life so complicated. Because they fail to seek the happiness, to see the happiness that exists within a single chitta, today they have built a whole world for them. Planets. We live in a galaxy that is called the Milky Way. That galaxy is in a universe. Guess who created all that? You think God did? Yeah. Guess who God is? You work that out. It's because we couldn't figure out how to be happy in a single chitta. We created a whole universe of things so that we could find happiness. It's like we've created toys for ourselves to play with in the hope that one day we can be happy. Think about the things you have at home today. Each and every single item of it, both living and non-living, you acquired into your life because you thought that was going to be a source of happiness. Yes or no? Right from your furniture, to your TV, cutlery, pets, tapestry, carpets, curtains, cushions, all of it. Those are the non-living things. Then you have the living things. Your cats, your dogs, your pet fish, your all that, your family. You know, if at the age of 16 you figured how to live happy by yourself, would you need to get married? At the age of 16, if you'd figured out how to be happy by yourself, you needn't have got married. But you did because you didn't know how to live happy by yourself. So you made a false promise. You did. You promised another person that you would make them happy. Huh? That doesn't add up. If a dentist came up to you and said, I'm going to fix your teeth, and then he gave you a broad smile and there's no teeth in his mouth, would you? Then someone comes up to you. They don't know how to be happy by themselves. They don't know how to be happy. They can't be happy without you. And they tell you, come with me and I'll make you happy. Why do you buy that? Makes no sense, does it? That's what I'm saying. If at age 16 you'd figured this out, your lives would have been very different today. But today you have built this intricate web of complexity. Today you are like the spider that is in the web that you have weaved for yourself. You're running here, there, everywhere. And in this web you try and catch many more things. Now the little insects that go and get entangled in the web, it's like that. You weave this web, right? And in that web, little things get caught. If you're a man in this web, you have a wife that's caught somewhere in the web. She's struggling there, trying to get out. But you can't let her out, so what you do? You go up and you weave her so that she's there with you. Then after a while you have children. You have a house, you have a car, you have pets, you have this, that, and everything. Just imagine yourself now in that web, and this is you. Shall I draw you? Spider-Man. There you are. That's you. And in this web, you have your spouse. You have your children. There's a car, house, friends, work. Now what do you do from time to time? The spider, it goes up here and spends time here with the spouse, right? And you sap the life out of it. And then you go back out. Then you go to the children. And you do the same again, right? And then come back out. And then you go to work, right? Again, you sap the life out of it and come back. Then go to your friends, right? Drain them of all their money and come back. Then go to your car, drive it around, right? This is how you live your life. This is how you live your life. Are you any better than a spider? Spider-Man. You can't walk out of this web because your happiness is dependent on these things. And here's what people try and do. They just keep on weaving this web so that more things can get caught in it. Tell me, did she not get caught in it? Huh? If she had known better, or if he had known better, would they have flown into this? They wouldn't, right? You know it because you were the same. You flew into someone else's web, right? And now you're there. The same thing happens here. So you just keep on weaving this web so that more things can get caught in it. Some people's webs are the size of, well, they're huge. Others are just starting their webs. So they look at big spiders with big webs and they go, wow, one day. Great ambitions. So they set themselves a dream, right? One day I will weave a web like that. Your children, they start out like this. Your children start out just like this, right? Baby spider, just this. That's all they have. And then they look at you. They look up to you. That's the problem. And then you look at them and you go, Buddha, if you want to be like me, you better start weaving. So you go to school. You go to school to do what? Learn how to weave that web. Can you ever walk out of this web and be happy? You can't. Because this is what feeds you. See? Just as much as the web is what feeds the spider, your life, this intricate life of complexity that you have woven around yourself is what feeds you. Don't your children feed you? I don't mean physically, you know what I mean. Metaphorically. You feed on the fact that your children are there with you. Your happiness. They feed you happiness. You expect happiness from them. Your property. You feed on them. The spider feeds on all of these things that get caught in the web. These little insects. This is its prey. Just like that, think about all the things that you feed on. When are you going to draw a line and say enough is enough? See, this spider's life is dependent on these things getting caught in the web. So it cannot be happy. It can never leave the web. If you want to leave this web, you have to come out of this spider mentality. You have to understand that these are not the things that on which your happiness should be dependent. You have to strive for an independent happiness. You have to become self-sustaining. The Dhamma is what will help you do that. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, I always keep reminding, and that's what Guru Hamra tried to tell you last week as well, when you were at the monastery. For your sake and for your children's sake, and for the sake of everyone you actually deeply love and care about. Give them noble association. Give them the gift of Dhamma. Otherwise, just as you were born on this web, and you keep on weaving it, where do you think that the spider is going to die eventually? In the web itself. That's it. End of story. So come out of this spider mentality. Become more than that. If what you're doing is what animals do as well, how does that set us apart? What sets us apart? We are more intellectual than that. We have more intelligence than that. We have the gift of insight. We have the gift of wisdom. We have the gift of associating with noble ones. We have the capacity to understand the Dhamma. So we have to strive for more than what eight-legged insects do. And you can. So be a good student. Whatever you learn here, when you get back home, you apply them. When you get back home today, just look around you. Look around you and just picture yourself like this. And you'll see what I mean. As you walk through your front door, and you walk into your living room, right? Imagine yourself in the middle of this web and all the things that you see around you, caught in the web, and ask yourself, aren't these the things that keep me alive? Look at your sofa and ask yourself, isn't this the thing that keeps me alive? I don't mean feeding you, of course. That's not what I mean by being alive. I mean keeping you in high spirits, keeping you happy, keeping you joyful. It makes life worth living. If they took your sofa away from you, how would you feel? Maybe today you say, it's an old sofa, Swaminathan, I don't care much about it. But when they brought it first, you went shopping for it. You bought it. And for the first few weeks, you didn't even let them take the covers off. Remember? Like how the Sri Lankans use their sofas. Then look at the TV. That's the thing that feeds you. It's the thing that keeps you alive. If they took your TV away from you, I know there are many people who would go and jump off a cliff if they took their TVs from them. They wouldn't be able to live, trust me. If they took their phones away from them. People are addicted to these things, folks. What does an addiction mean? For my mere existence, I need it. That's what addiction means. A couple of weeks ago, I just slightly hinted at something, and I wanted to discuss that in more detail, maybe not today, another day. You are addicted to being you. That's the ultimate addiction. Once you break free from that addiction, you are free from everything. You are addicted to being you. That's why in every chitta, you have to create your identity. You're addicted to your identity, who you are. When ultimately, actually, you are nothing more than a mere chitta. But because you can't sense that, you believe that you are a certain individual. You think that you're a man, you think you're a woman, you think you're whatever, you think you're a doctor, you think you're a lawyer, you think you're an engineer, you think you're a mother, you think you're a father, you think you're a child, a brother, sister, grandmother, grandfather, you think you're a teacher, you think you're a politician, you think all of these things of yourself. Soon enough, in a couple of weeks' time, someone will think they're the new president of the country. Won't they? Did they come into this world that? Are they going to leave this world that? No. If I brought to you the president of a country that you've never heard of before, and I stood him on the stage, would you be able to look at him and go, he must be the president of that? Can you? Just like this fan. All you can look at him and say is, this man is going to live a certain life and then he's going to die. That is the universal truth. He thinks he's the president. He thinks he's the president. So, this country never had a president. This country always had someone who thought they were the president. And because everyone agreed with that, they let him have his place in the presidential chambers, let's say, the presidential palace. They let him walk into it. They let him into his office. That's how things work. If I'm the president, why should I ask you for your consent? Why should there be a vote if I'm the president? These are all conventional matters. But the problem is, once people start getting themselves into these little conventions, they lose the plot. It's very easy to happen. Once you become the president, you will forget that you are a human being who will die. Don't you think so? Because now they have a whole country to look after. It's tough enough looking after your family, isn't it? Now just imagine if the whole country was your family. See, someone's biting the bullet and doing this on our behalf. That's what I think. Someone's running this country. Thankfully, so I don't have to do it. That is why I say, those people who put their heads above the parapet wall, they deserve a little bit of the Dhamma. So if you are known to the president, the one who is here today, the one who will be here tomorrow, or the one who will be here in 10 years' time, if you are known to the president, have some mercy on them. Give them the gift that you have received. Remind them that they are also only human. Remind them that happiness does not come from having a big desk or thinking that they are the president, because that is only a notion in one's mind. It's only a sentiment. If the country decides that he is no longer the president, is he any longer the president? No, then he's not the president, is he? It's just a convention. But what about the web that he would have weaved by then? Now he's stuck in it. He or she. As I'm saying, every man, woman and child deserves this truth, ladies and gentlemen. Every man, woman and child. That's why I have no party. I have no color to which I have a particular affinity to. I don't have a vote to cast. You cast your votes. It's not about that. I don't have a vote to cast. My only vote is for Nibbāna. For that, I have already casted my vote. I have no other vote to cast. Because here's what I know. Whoever becomes the president of this country, tanhai jayati soko, tanhai jayati bhaya. Give me a president who can change that, and they will have my vote. My fight is not for the president of the country. My fight is not even for the world. My fight is to free mankind from ignorance and attachment, which they don't know is the cause of their suffering until someone points it out to them. That is why it's called ignorance. Ignorance cannot be come out of by oneself. Because when you don't know something, how can you know that you don't know it? When you don't know something, how can you know that you don't know it? You can't, right? If you don't know something, someone must come up to you and tell you that you don't know it. Then you know that you didn't know it. Now you know it. And now you can find out more about it. So, if there are people in this world who roam the surface of this earth who know a thing or two about the truth of this world, then their purpose should be charata bhikkhave charikang, bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya, attaya hitaya, satta deva manusana, lokanukampaya. Out of compassion and loving kindness, which is entirely altruistic, My monks, the Buddha says, roam, spread the teaching, give people the doctrine, help them realize that they are not who they think they are. Give them their inheritance. Open their eyes. Help them wake up from the misery that they have put themselves into. So walk out of this web, ladies and gentlemen. It matters not how big your web is, you will die in it. You will suffer because of everything that is caught in the web. Everything that is caught in the web is now your concern. It will be a cause for your grief, it will be a cause for your worry. Every little thing that's caught in it is now your problem. The bigger your web, the more things that will get caught in it. So, open your eyes to this truth. Come out of your own web. Become a free human being. I'm not talking about monkhood here. I'm talking about your state of mind. Aspire to the truth. Stop thinking you are who you are. Or at least who you think you are. Because you think you are who you are, or because you think beg your pardon. Because you think you are who you think you are, you bring upon yourself all the worry, the grief, and the fears that each of those connections, also each of those relationships bring you. Today, you take great pride in the fact that you are a mother, or a father, or a husband, or a wife, or whatever personality that you identify yourself with, whatever identity that you have built for yourself. And because of that, because you take great pride in that, because you take great joy in that, you have to sustain that. You're dealing with something so volatile. That's why your happiness is so fragile. I asked you this question once before and I'll ask you it again. And I'll conclude my talk for today. Can anyone in this room, anyone, give me with dead certainty a date and time in the future when you will be 100% happy? You can name your time, you can name your day. You are free to do so. But you have to give it to me with dead certainty. Swami will answer, at this date, on this time, auspicious time. Right? Without question, without a shadow of a doubt, I will be happy no matter what. Can you? You can't. You can't because you don't know when the next thing is going to get caught up in your web. What is the purpose of, what is the point of having been born human if you can't at least predict when you're going to be happy? People can predict the stock market. And they'll tell you whether it's going to be a bull market or a bear market. People can predict the price of gold. They can predict the price of oil. They can even predict when Mars is finally going to collide with Mercury, whenever that might be in the future. They can tell you when the Big Bang is going to stop expanding. They can do all that. When the universe is going to stop expanding, they'll do all that. But people, human beings, they can't predict when they are going to be 100% happy in the future. And why can they not? Because they are not 100% happy now. That's why. Only a man who is unconditionally happy in this present moment can proclaim a time and date at any point in the future and say, give me any time, any date, and on that day I can tell you that I will be happy. And only in the Buddha Sasana will such miracles happen. So, I urge you, you have shed your blood, sweat and tears for this country, and I know that, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I speak to you so passionately. You didn't just grow old, did you? Look around you. This nation, this great country, this world in which we live, you shed your blood, sweat and tears building this place up. I came into a world in which you had already planted the coconut trees. you had already dug the wells. I'm only 30-something years old. There are those among you who are 60s, 70s. So by the time I came here, I got here, you'd already got the place running. You planted the mango tree from which I have plucked the mangoes. You dug the wells from which I drank water. You fed the rivers. You created the education system from which I had a free education. You created the jobs. All I had to do was go and take the job. And when I say I speak on behalf of every citizen in this country. You deserve more than this. You deserve to die happy. After all that you have done, think about how much you've done for your own children. Think about how much you've done for your children, and those children will go on to do more for their children and for the rest of the world. Not just for today, but for posterity. You have done so much. Don't you deserve more than this? Don't you deserve to be more than just a tissue that is going to be discarded in the trash can? Then aspire to that. Don't just settle for a pension. Is that all you deserve for all your hard work? 50 years of your life you expended. You toiled. If you are a teacher, how many students have you taught by now? Countless. If you're a doctor, if you're a nurse, how many patients have you healed by now? How many lives have you saved by now? Countless. If you're a good law-abiding citizen, how many people have you helped by now? Countless lives. How many lives have you helped be happy? Countless. Whatever professions you are, you know you have served someone in whatever capacity you are able to. If you are a postman, how many letters have you delivered by now? Just think about it. If you're the janitor, how many times have you cleaned those toilets by now? Because you wanted to serve. I care about the people of our country. I care about the people of our world. You are those people. You deserve more than a pension. Don't you agree? Oh, put your hand up. No, sorry, the pension is enough. Well, then this is what you deserve. To die happy. Because if you die happy, you'll be born happy. If you die unconditionally happy, you won't need to be born again. At least die happy. And don't be like the rest of them, like the vast majority who have sacrificed life and limb as professionals, as teachers, as doctors, as lawyers, as engineers, as people who have served this country, right? Everyone. And yet, in the last years of their lives, they are confounded to a miserable death. What a shame that is. And don't wait until it's too late, because when it's too late, when it's too late for your own good, when you're too old for your own good, then all you see is the grannies who come to the temple. And they sit around the dharmashala, and the Swami Nuhanse gives the precepts, that's all they're awake to. And then again he gives the 5 precepts in the evening, that's all they're awake to. The rest of the time they're just too tired, they're exhausted. Exhausted from having served. Don't be that. So plan for your retirement now. Start retirement planning now. If you're 20, start retirement planning now. Don't wait until you're 40. This is the retirement that I'm speaking to you of. So you can retire happily. So you can actually rest in peace. I don't believe those boards that go up and say RIP. Don't fall for that nonsense. If they have not lived peacefully, they won't rest peacefully. That is the truth. Ask God and tell me if I'm wrong. If they have not lived peacefully, they cannot rest peacefully. If they have not been a source of peace to others, then peace does not await them. The purgatory awaits them. So find peace, find solace, find serenity in your lives. It's there, it's here, it's now. May the Dhamma heal you. Once again, may the Dhamma heal you. May the Dhamma heal all your ailing hearts. May you find happiness. I can taste it. It's here. I speak to you with conviction. I was not a man who could live like this. I needed a great many things around me to keep me happy. Like a patient who's kept alive by the oxygen machine that they're plugged into. I was like that. I needed a woman by my side to be happy. I needed the material possessions that I once had to keep me happy. That is because I was so weak. I was so weak. I was so weak that I needed that support from everyone around me and everything around me. But then the Dhamma, it gave me a backbone. It fixed me up. It taught me how to stand up straight. Put me back on my feet. Today, I'm not only independent, but I can help others become independent. So, aspire to that. We are here to help. And I think you experienced that last week when you got to the monastery. We are here to help. Every man, woman, and child deserves this. Because you have served, ladies and gentlemen, you have served. You have served well. Now let us serve you. Some of you will have left your motherland and you went abroad for education, to bring something back to your country, to look after your people here. I know there'll be many in the audience who left your motherland to go abroad. You left your families here, you left your mothers here, your fathers here, your siblings here. It was not a trip that you wanted to make, but you had to make it. So you left. Many years you were there, you were earning money, getting yourself qualified, in the hope that one day you can come back and reunite with your family. Those years you spent without your family being there. There was no one for comfort. So you have served, and you have served well. Now let us serve you. Let this great nation that you have served serve you in return. And I feel that that is the duty that we have as bhikkhus, to serve the great men and women of this nation, and any nation for that matter. Anyone who has served mankind, may they walk up to us so that we can serve them in return. So that mankind can be grateful to them through us. So come. I will serve. You have served. Now let me serve. Let our Swami Maharaj serve. Let our Anagarika Mahatmya serve you. Let them serve you so that you can be happy. Come before it's too late. Before you are too old that you can't even hear. You are too old so you can't even see. You are too old you can't even walk. You are too old you can't get yourself up. because that day will come for all of us. Before then, come, let me serve you. You understand what I'm saying? Do you? Then come. Come to be served. Okay? Right. Let's transfer the merits. And bring today's sermon to a close. Let us all take a moment then to transfer the merits that we have all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, creating a conducive environment for all to come along and practice the Dhamma, listen to the teachings of the Buddha, and attain to the ultimate bliss of Nibbāna, by inviting the Swami Master to deliver the sermon, as well as bringing along your friends and family so that they could also experience the bliss of the Dhamma. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas who have since time immemorial protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and passed it down through the generations of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand, and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, that is the Mahanayakas and the Anunayaka theatres of all the chapters, and all the monks and nuns resident throughout the world. Let us also transfer these merits to Guru Swami Mahansa, as well as all the monks resident at the monastery and the Anagarikas and Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha, be that by transliterating these talks, sharing them out with others, or inviting others to join them. May they all rejoice in these merits. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to friends of the monastery, our devotees who, for the sake of merits to help them attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana, continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes every one of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, alms, robes, and medicines, as well as pass on their know-how and continue to extend their well wishes. May you all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcoming obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to our mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, and nephews and nieces, our friends, our acquaintances, our employers and our employees, our teachers, as well as anyone and everyone who've helped us, supported us, and assisted us in any way, shape, or form possible and available to them. May they all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may they also be freed of any physical and mental ailments and overcoming obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to the Devas and Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as all the numerous gods and deities who have committed themselves to fulfill and preserve the Sambuddha Sasana. Let us transfer these merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer these merits to those who passed away in our name, our forefathers, our loved ones, reminding ourselves that it is in their blood, sweat, and tears today we are able to enjoy the comforts of life as we do and practice the path in peace and harmony. Let us all transfer all the merits we have acquired to all of them. Let us also transfer these merits to those who make great sacrifices on our behalf by protecting and preserving the peace and harmony of our country, members of the armed forces as well as the police force who sacrifice their lives to protect it and preserve it. Let us also transfer these merits to those who lost their lives in the wars, be their friend or foe, as well as those who lost their lives in natural disasters and calamities such as tsunamis and earthquakes, landslides, fires, floods, pandemics, and so on. Reminding ourselves that in this infinitely long journey of samsara, they will all have been mothers and fathers to us, brothers and sisters to us, sons and daughters to us, friends and acquaintances to us. With a sense of gratitude towards all of them, let us transfer all the merits we have acquired to all. May by the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful planes, they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may by the power and blessings of all the maids we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of arahants on this blessed land. And may you and I and everyone who has helped make this program a success become a Rahatan Mahanse or an Arahat Theranin Mahanse in this very life itself and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all. Members of the Mahasangha will now transfer the blessings to you. Raga ginnen nidetva, dvesha ginnen nidetva, moha ginnen nidetva, Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhita taravetma. Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhita taravetma. Mamada siyalu loka siyalu satvayo Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhita taravetma. Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhita taravetma. Nibbāna parama sukhayan sukhita taravetma. Raga gini niveva, desha gini niveva, moha gini niveva, nivan sapalabeva, nivan sapalabeva. Nivan sapa labeva. Tunurvange Susi Ananta Mahaguna Belen, Sila Loka Sila Satyoma, Nibbāna Paramasukhen Suktitaravetva. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.